On this week's episode of Ride the Lightning, the Tesla unofficial podcast, I sit down for a lengthy conversation with Taylor Robinette, who used to run the customer referral program at Tesla. We discuss the various iterations of the referral program over the years, what it's like going from a Tesla fan to a Tesla employee, and more. What's happening, friends? Welcome to Ride the Lightning. It is your weekly Tesla unofficial podcast. Doesn't matter if I'm on vacation or not. It's episode 487. This one's publishing on December 1st, 2024. Daisy the Boxer is curled up in a ball to my left. Mine of the future service dog puppy is curled up on a ball also to my left, but on the floor. Sadly, service dog puppies, no matter how hard they try, are not allowed on the furniture the way that the pet dog is. Anyway, officially now, happy holidays to all of you. As this episode publishes, the holiday season is officially underway, although for full transparency, I am recording this episode a decent bit in advance. And the reason for that is because my family and I guess by the time you hear this, I can say, were away for Thanksgiving with my in-laws. So I have prepared this episode for you in advance, and I just want to say, as I always do the couple times or so a year that I do duck out with family on a trip, I really appreciate all of you allowing me to take a little break with my family, and I hope you enjoy the interview that's coming up. Now, hopefully, if you're listening to this at all, you enjoy the regular format of the podcast. This week will not be that. It is a 1 hour, 5-minute conversation. I thought it was going to be a 30-minute conversation, but we had such a great time talking that it ended up going just over an hour. So I hope you do enjoy this chat with Taylor that's coming up. But I do want to say from the bottom of my heart that I am so truly grateful to all of you who've been listening all year long. If you're a newer listener, welcome. But if you've been with me for a while, thank you so much. And as you know, I always prepare something for you, even during these rare times when I'm away with my family. And I just had such a great time talking to Taylor about his time at Tesla. And, again, this is not the usual format, but hopefully a little something different every once in a while is good, right? Hopefully you appreciate it. But I do promise you that next week I will get back to the usual up-to-the-minute news and analysis, last week tonight kind of format. I guess it's not up to the minute because it's a once a week podcast, but you know what I mean. I'll get back to my usual deal of talking to you about the week's Tesla news, giving my analysis, etc. So before I get to that 1 hour and 5-minute conversation with Taylor, I've just got a few quick housekeeping notes. First, a reminder that the referral program has returned. It's the most dollar for dollar, I guess just sheer, pure money incentive version of the referral program, speaking of which, that we're about to talk about a lot. But this version of it offers you $500 off a 3 or a Y, or $1,000 off of an S, X, or Cybertruck. So if you plan on buying a Tesla over the holiday season and you don't already have one, make sure you use someone's referral code when you're ordering that car. And you do have to use the referral link when ordering. Tesla will not retroactively apply a referral discount. So I will say, if you're considering buying a Tesla and you want to ask some questions about either which Tesla to get or specifically which variant of a particular model of Tesla that might be best for you and your family, feel free to hit me up anytime on email, Instagram, X, whatever the case may be. I'm always happy to help. So if you would like to use my referral link, you have to order with this link. So just type in ts.la/Ryan73014 into any web browser on your desktop, mobile device, tablet, whatever. That'll take you to the Tesla Design Studio and a landing page where you can choose which model you want to buy. And from there, you can configure the car how you see fit, order it, and you'll see that discount's been applied. This also applies, you'll see one of the squares on that landing page when you type in my referral link is for inventory cars. So if you just want to buy an inventory vehicle that may have a discount on it, because Tesla's been doing some inventory discounts, the referral discount will still apply. So whatever you want to click on, SX3Y Cybertruck or inventory, you can do that. Also, the Patreon. That is the way that you can best support the podcast if you'd like to do so. It's always going to be voluntary. This podcast is always and will always be free. But if you would like to support what I'm doing, I'd be humbled and grateful, especially this time of year, if you do consider that. The website to go to is patreon.com/Tesla podcast. All Patreon tiers now get ad-free episodes as well as early access to each week's episode. And if you jump up to that most popular tier, it's the $10 per month tier, you'll not only get early access and ad-free, but you'll get those weekly lightning round bonus mini episodes as well. There are over 120 of them up there. So head on over to patreon.com/Tesla podcast if you would like to support this podcast. Just a quick heads up there, though, due to a change in App Store policy for Apple, if you're going to join my Patreon, just don't do it through the Patreon iOS app. Best way to do it is just go to the website on, again, any device, Mac, PC, desktop, mobile, tablet, doesn't matter. Just don't use the Patreon iOS app because they pass along the App Store 30% fee to you. So we don't want that. Just sign up through the website instead, patreon.com/Tesla podcast. Okay, we are just about ready for this interview with Taylor to talk about the referral program as it was under his care during his time at Tesla. But before I get to that, I just want to mention a longtime friend of Ride the Lightning. That is Accelerate Auto, who offers their excellent X-Care extended warranty options. I've got a 3-year, 40,000-mile coverage plan on my Model 3. And if that sounds good to you, or if you'd like to go longer in either mileage and or time horizon, you can go up to 10 years and up to 125,000 miles, or anything in between. Whatever you want to do, all that is, by the way, after your factory warranty of 4 years, 50,000 miles, whichever comes first, is up. So you can really configure that X-Care plan however you like. You can cover the whole car, but the battery and drivetrain, kind of the usual warranty bits, or you can add on a battery and drivetrain policy so that everything's covered, or you could just do a policy on the battery and drivetrain if just that core, most expensive component to replace of the car is all you want to worry about protecting with a plan. X-Care will do that for you. Don't forget there's a $100 off discount of your policy purchase if you use my discount code, which is Lightning. To do that, go to the website, which is accelerateauto.com/Xcare. That's XCELERATEAUTO.com/XCARE. That link is also in the episode description too, if that's easier for you. So again, check them out. Use that discount code Lightning for $100 off your policy purchase. And with that, let's get to the interview. I hope you enjoy this. I had a great time talking to Taylor. Enjoy.
Hi, this is Franz von Holzhausen, and you're listening to Ride the Lightning with Ryan McCaffrey, the Tesla unofficial podcast.
I have a very special guest this week. It's always fun to talk to Tesla employees, both present and past. And with me today is a gentleman who spent a good time at Tesla. Taylor Robinette, he was the senior staff product engineer, which may sound vague to us outsiders, but we'll get into it. Specifically, Taylor worked on the referral program, was one of the hats that he wore, the same referral program that a lot of us have participated in, either as referrers or referees. So I thought we'd chat about that today. Taylor, welcome. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks so much, Ryan. Excited to be here.
So I always like to start really with any guest, but especially with Tesla employees, people that found themselves working at the company. What was your Tesla origin story? And then I kind of want to lead that into how long you were at the company, et cetera. So let's start with just how you became aware of and interested in Tesla?
Yeah, for sure. It goes way back, probably to 2014, 2015. I had a startup at the time. My lawyer that I was working with had a Model S. And so I got to ride in his, and he kind of was working on me, and I was a referee from him. And so first was introduced to the brand that way. And then Elon started talking about autonomy and full self-driving. I mean, way back, I think a lot of us remember, it feels like ages ago when it was first kind of the concept of this car will be able to drive you from point A to point B with no intervention. You can, repurpose your time. And I thought that vision of the future was really cool.
Yeah.
And then I remember the Model X unveiling too, was really exciting. And so in 2017, I bought my first Tesla. That same guy referred me. And then I got a Model X 75D in that beautiful blue. And I think I was one of the first in North Carolina. So I was still on the East Coast at that time. And so, yeah, that was kind of my first introduction to the brand, and then bought my car then.
Did you find yourself being one of the early adopters in your area, especially with the Model X? I've heard plenty of stories from early X owners where those Falcon Wing doors would draw a crowd. Did you experience that back then?
I did, and my wife Lauren was embarrassed a little bit, I think, and I was too in some places, because we would be trying to get somewhere quickly and picking up a friend, and it was in the middle of Chapel Hill or Durham in downtown, and we would open the Falcon Wing doors, and it would everybody would stop what they were doing and look at us, and so that was really fun for the first little bit there. But I think as I owned the car, I was like, man, this is a little more showy than I'm used to.
The phrase that I used to see thrown around by early Tesla owners like yourself, like on the Tesla Motors Club forums and whatnot, was Tesla time. You had to build in Tesla time into your schedule to account for all the people that would come up to you and want to talk about the car.
Absolutely. Yep.
So what is the X still your favorite Tesla now? Almost, I mean, what is it? It's been 7 years since you got your X. Like, where do you stand now with the product lineup at 5? And I'm not going to leave out the original Roadster as the 6th Tesla. Yeah. So what's your favorite Tesla these days?
Gosh, it's hard. So right now I own a Model Y. When I moved to San Francisco, where I am now, I needed a little bit smaller of a car for a tiny garage. And so
I can relate.
The Model Y fit a little bit better into the lifestyle. Still have a sweet spot for the X. And then, man, Cybertruck is something special. So I think Cybertruck will be my next one. My wife has negotiated with me that next summer we can get a Cybertruck. So I'm waiting for that. That'll be exciting. So I think, yeah, the X and Cybertruck, probably my favorites. Y is just the jack of all trades car. It just is so versatile for every which thing you could want to do. So
it's really probably the best overall value in terms of you getting what you're paying in the entire company. And that's probably the reason it's the best selling car in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. We got our Y pretty early. I think it was June of 2020.
Yeah,
was when we took delivery. We swapped from the X to the Model Y. It's been great. Yeah, we've taken it camping in Yosemite and done car camping, and I mean, just a great all-around car.
So let's fast forward then to coming on board at Tesla. Like, what drew you this open role of senior staff? Maybe you didn't start there. I don't know. Maybe you worked your way up. But what kind of led you to applying at Tesla, wanting to work there, and ultimately getting hired there?
Yeah. So I think we need to start with once I was introduced to the brand and got my car. It was not kind of a passive thing. I was obsessed, maybe is the right word, as a lot of people in the community. And so I used the referral program a ton. I began. It was only S and X at that time. And so I referred a ton of people, I think 12 or 13 people kind of in that era. And so I had been a consumer of the program for a long time.
Yeah.
And I got to go to the semi unveiling, which also was the Roadster unveiling as a referral attendee. which was super fun. Power walls, all the limited edition stuff from phase 9 of the program. And so I think it was kind of felt like it was meant to be that the program ended abruptly. You probably remember this in February of 2019.
Yep.
And it was Model 3 was ramping, and the referral program previously had been available for S and X, and now it got extended to Model 3, and the financials just didn't make sense. I'm sure. I think I remember you saying you were a Roadster winner, so I'm sure you'll have a question about that later. But
maybe
we were
one or
giving
two.
away. We were giving away Roadster. The Tesla was giving away Roadsters and all sorts of other awards, and the value per referral was super high, and so it didn't scale to Model 3. So the whole program was kind of shut down.
Yeah.
And then it came back in a smaller form, and it was that 1,000 miles of supercharging. You got 1,000 miles. The friend you referred got 1,000 miles. And so most of the people in that era kind of left. And so it was in this place where there was really nobody internally running the program. And actually a friend from high school reached out and said, hey, I know you're a passionate Tesla owner, and you've used the referral program a ton. Like, would you be interested in considering a role that would work on the referral program? And I was like, absolutely. That sounds, right up my alley. So came out, interviewed in 2019, and then took the job and moved out from North Carolina to California in end of 2019, and then was there at Tesla for 5 years after that.
Wow. So that's a full cross country, like you packed up your life and came out for this. So you mentioned your wife, Lauren, sounds like, she was with you back in the X days too. So what did she have any reservation about this, or was she just fully on board, excited with you and happy to pack it up and come out west?
Yeah, I think we were both really excited for the adventure. She had grown up on the East Coast and in North Carolina, and so I think it was a good opportunity for her to get somewhere new. And so we, I think she was excited, and she knew just how passionate I was about Tesla. And probably one of those things like, maybe if you work there, you'll stop talking to me about it so much, type deals. And so she was definitely super supportive. And I think it turned out to be the right move.
I kind of had that same thing, except instead of going to work at the company, I started the podcast with my wife, hoping that I would stop talking about it. And really, unfortunately for her, I don't know about you, I haven't really stopped talking about it even off the podcast. So I don't know if you still brought your enthusiasm home with you from the office.
Very much, very much. I think there was, she started making me do disclaimers in groups of friends that, hey, I can talk about this topic forever. So feel free to call a timeout and we can move on if this gets too boring. Because it's just been such a passion for so long.
Can I ask what your background was before Tesla? You mentioned that you'd had a startup, but kind of was this like just a total right turn, left turn for you, or where'd you come from, sort of either academically or just professionally speaking?
Yeah, so I've always been entrepreneurial since I was a kid. I kind of attribute it to really wanting a Game Boy Color when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And my parents said, we don't have the money. If you want it, you're going to have to make it yourself. And so I did what any, I think 7-year-old would do at the time. And I started a lemonade stand. I made no money, Ryan. It was a complete failure. And so I pivoted and I switched to soda and candy, and then moved out to a slightly more trafficked road, and then hired kids from the neighborhood to work it for me. And then one day we made more money than a Game Boy Color cost. And
wow.
So bought it, and then ended up, I think, selling it on eBay later that Christmas as a 7-year-old, because I was like, it's worth more than I paid for it. So I kind of, I think the origin kind of starts there. And through high school and college, had a bunch of different startups, some that were just side projects, some that, I got funding for. That was the one that I was mentioning previously. And so that was completely different. That was a mobile location-based social network. And I was trying to have people spend less time staring at their phones and more time interacting with people, and using location-based technologies to map all your relationships. So that was kind of that startup. And then right before Tesla, I had wound down that startup. It turned out like the Apple ecosystem was just not open enough for what we wanted to do. We were doing a lot of stuff with Bluetooth Low Energy and trying to get really accurate device measurements of how close your phone was to another phone. And at that point, it wasn't a possibility. So we pivoted a few times and then shut down. And then I ran product and engineering at a company called Three Birds Marketing that did automotive marketing. And so we helped car dealers sell and service more cars. So before I joined, I was kind of still in the close to automotive. Obviously, Tesla's more of a tech company than a traditional automotive company, but kind of had that background and the technical skills from, I did a bunch of comp sci in school, and then also for my startup kind of wore a bunch of different hats. And so, kind of had that full package, and then was super passionate about the program. So it was like all of my skill set, I feel like, lent itself towards this role. And I was like, this is perfect. It's, building out tech at Tesla. And building tech was something that was one of my strengths, and then also for a program that I was passionate about. So I felt like I had kind of the full package that I was super excited when the opportunity presented itself.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned auto, tech, and wearing many hats, which I have heard as an outsider that a lot of people at Tesla tend to wear more than one hat. So yeah, it sounds like you had the exact right ingredients list for the company. So now that you get there, you move out west, you start up at Tesla. Are you working out of Deer Creek or the factory, or like where do they put you to start with?
Yeah, so Fremont, next to the factory, 901 Page was my building. Actually, I think when I first started, it was the Cato building that's now the 4680 production test line. So we started there, and kind of the whole career was there in Fremont. Obviously, building shifted around a little bit, and there was the kooky, COVID times where it was work from home for a little bit. But yeah, the majority, it was commuting down to Fremont every day.
So generally speaking, at least in your experience, what was it like working at Tesla? Like what was the energy like, the mood, the vibe? Like, I want to start there.
Yeah. I tell people a lot of times it felt like a very well-funded startup most of the time. It was definitely, lots of hats being worn. I think just the overall culture is doing more with less. And I think that this was a huge feature, not a bug, of some might complain, like, why aren't we fully staffed? This seems crazy. How can we not get fully staffed? And I came to see it as this is a competitive advantage of just ruthlessly prioritizing and knowing what adds value and what doesn't, and being able to make those decisions. So everybody was super passionate about the mission. Everybody was super passionate about what we were doing. And obviously, I think working at a company like Tesla, we would release things and the community would be commenting on it within minutes. Like, you've been in the community for so long. Yeah, exactly. Like, it hits, and it was always so rewarding. Just like as, somebody that's an engineer and trying to get close to your customers, like having that real-time feedback of people commenting on whatever you just worked on immediately was super, super motivating. And so I think you had this culture of everybody going 150% all the time. Obviously, Elon leading from the front and kind of not asking anybody to do things that he hasn't personally done himself. And so I think that mixed with mission, mixed with just this agility, felt like a really big, well-funded startup where you were all working to change the world.
Yeah, I've heard that from so many current and former Tesla employees that really everybody there super believes in the mission and is super enthusiastic about the company and what it's doing. And that even if you can't quantify that, it clearly, I mean, the company today as a result, it speaks for itself. That matters. Like that really will translate into better products and just a better everything. I would have to imagine. And it's cool that you could even, you being there on the inside, that you could sense it. It wasn't just like you had blinders on, but you were all sort of aware of this in the moment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that it drove us to do our best work. And I think like, I've had other people ask like, how do we replicate that? And I think a lot of times people want, an easy set of a checklist of go do X, Y, and Z thing. And I think really it starts with the culture of just, you have to really want it. And you all have to be coming together around a mission and being willing to do whatever it takes to get to the outcome.
So what teams did you interface with? Because you're not working in a silo. And again, my very minimal understanding of Tesla here from the outside is that other teams you're almost basically encouraged to reach out to anybody in any department for any reason. So I'm curious who you ended up working with and interfacing with outside of your own team.
Yeah. So I was on the digital experience team. And so we interfaced a lot with like, obviously the sales teams around the world, understanding their unique problems and objectives. We interfaced a lot with vehicle, like in-car software teams. Really, it is very cross-functional. And so, yeah, there were most teams at some point we interacted with for whatever reason.
Did your team build the basically the sort of on-screen in-car tutorial stuff that we all see now? Was that under your watch?
So it's super cross-functional. There's yes, in digital experience, there's all of the content management, and had a bunch of colleagues that were just focused on that. Then design studio, obviously has a huge influence on all the creative direction at the company. So that was another one that's a great example of a cross-functional effort.
Yeah, because I just remember back in I want to say it might have been fall of 2018. I think it was fall of 2018 when one of my tweets had gotten recognized by Elon of saying, hey, like the community would be happy to help with these end of quarter delivery pushes. And then he actually responded to it and it turned into a thing. And I was down at the Fremont delivery hub with a bunch of other people and just helping get people onboarded in their new cars. And that was my big feedback back then was people just, there's all these questions that people all have, and there needs to be a way in the car for like sort of an interactive tutorial thing. And you guys eventually built it, which was really cool to see.
Yeah. And I think that was always one of my hopes with the referral program too, is obviously it's helpful for Tesla to sell additional cars. But I think from a personal standpoint, if you have a buddy who's helping you through, getting onboarded into the ecosystem, it's so helpful. Like yeah. I was really lucky to have that experience with the person that referred me of, actually clicking around in his car or tapping around in his car before purchasing my own. And so I always had this grand vision of, you have somebody that refers you, but that person can walk you through, any of your initial 101 questions that you have as you purchase the car and then, get plugged into the ecosystem.
So I'm curious what, you were an enthusiast before you joined the company. You were an owner before you joined the company. Did anything surprise you for going from being an outsider, if you will, put some air quotes on it, to actually being inside the walls of Tesla as an enthusiast, as a fan and product owner of the company, not just an employee? Like, did anything surprise you when you got in?
I had so much empathy for the people that I kept emailing asking where my referral awards were. Because, at that time there were still a bunch of undelivered awards, and
the power walls were one that comes to mind.
Exactly. And so I think, when people think of Tesla and think about a given feature, I think, they put the typical Silicon Valley tech team spin on it of like, there's a, massive team of 100 people working, on this one thing. And, you get in, you're like, oh, like this is on my plate. Like, there is nobody else. This is, let's roll up our sleeves and do it. And so I think that was just something that I had a new appreciation for, just how hard the Tesla team works. And that a lot of the functions are just, there isn't a dedicated person. That's how you get that corporate bloat. There's jobs that need to be done and people that raise their hands and say, I'll take it and then run with it.
Yeah, a lot of bootstrapping, basically. Just like,
For sure.
let's go.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that the program had kind of spun down. So what, like when you joined and you're handed the referral program, what is your initial hope for it? Like, what was your sort of, where did you start with it? I'm sure it evolved in directions both foreseen and unforeseen, but I'm curious, how you sort of rolled up your sleeves and got going on it when you started.
Yeah. So I think coming in, I had a bunch of insights, again, without talking to anybody at the company, just from experiencing the program, of things that I thought were, worked well, didn't work well. I was coming in at a time when for sure costs needed to be managed. It couldn't be as, lucrative of a reward as phase 9 of the program. So it needed to, scale to Model 3 and Model Y. At the same time, supercharging, I think, is a good thing. But S and X at the time still had free unlimited supercharging. So
Right.
like those customers were kind of alienated from the program. That seemed silly. And so I think coming in, my hope was like to build a program that feels really special to the community, and would be able to kind of give back while also helping Tesla hit, their sales objectives of increasing volume, for all their cars, and in a way that was really fun and engaging. I think there was some magic around phase 9 of the program. There was magic around, getting to be invited to an event like, my wife and I going to the semi unveil felt like, a dream. And I know you were just at the Robotaxi event. Like those events are just so special. And I think, I had this vision of, what's going to drive a really good referral program is offering things that money can't buy. And how do we offer experiences and things in an operationally efficient way? Obviously, we don't want to promise something that, can't be fulfilled for years. I think that was one of the pain points of the, program before I got there. How do we do that in a scalable way? And how do we offer these, experiences that people are going to, they're already having conversations with friends and family, but give them additional incentive to go above and beyond and help their friends go through a test drive or, spend extended time with them, helping them get onboarded into the ecosystem. So that was kind of the vision coming in.
And if I'll have to politely ask you to remind me. So because there have been many iterations over the last several years, both since you joined and also since you've left. So what was the actual, like, what did you launch? What was the first version of the referral program that you launched? What were the sort of general parameters of it?
Yeah. So the pivoted program, that we launched was the credits-based program. And so it first launched in China and then eventually came, to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And yeah, that program was, just as a refresher for you and everybody listening, was, there were different values based on the type of car that you referred. You would earn credits and then you could redeem the credits for various awards, in like a, Tesla referral shop. So that was kind of the core of the program. And the hope was that would speak to, we could still offer, the exclusive items that were in phase 9, and some of the previous, phases of the program, while also, giving different values for different products, and making it just really fair for all owners, so that there was something for everybody. And it didn't feel like, if you had a car that was already grandfathered into free unlimited supercharging, that, the program wasn't for you, or there wasn't anything that you could get. So that was the, kind of the thought behind that program.
Can you tell me about, probably in general terms, I know you probably are under some NDA after leaving the company, which is just sort of standard practice, but can you tell me about like the meetings that decide the details? Because I imagine it starts with some sort of one sheet or whiteboard where like you've got the list of things you want to do and you're trying to decide the values for them. But like, do you have, are you given sort of an actual budget of what things are that are, what are they worth and what can you give away? Like, can you kind of speak to how the sausage is made on that?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think here I always like to start with the customer. And I think starting with like what's right for the end user. And in this case, that was me. So it was kind of easy because,
Yeah.
I could, be in my shoes pre-joining the company and understand what were the pain points of the program, what motivated me to get to those, 12, 13 referrals, and what's going to motivate other people like me going forward. And so I think a lot of the programs at Tesla start with just understanding like what's best for the customer. And I think this obsession over the customer is really unique and something that I think every company should do. And then you kind of work backwards. No specific budget per se. I think you're always balancing the cost of the program versus other sales incentives or other things that you could run. So I think generally it was just coming up with a program, having a good hypothesis on, what is this going to do for the company? And then what is it going to do for our customers? Are we going to do right by our customers? And is this going to be a fun, engaging program? We never wanted it to feel like, you were selling out your contact list or you were selling,
Right.
you were selling your friend. I think those are terrible programs when it feels like that. This was, always while I was there, the goal was to make it feel like it was first and foremost a value add for loyal owners, and then secondary, also help Tesla in achieving their goals.
So what were some of the constraints that you had to work with? Either like actual, you can only offer this level of prize, as it were, or even sort of, I don't know. I guess I don't quite know how to phrase it, but what were some of the constraints that you had to work with?
So I mean, it was very much open for discussion. And I think I love that about Tesla is like most of the projects, you kind of set constraints for each project yourself. And sometimes, there's top down direction coming, or sometimes there's things that you have to be able to work within. But generally, it's like, kind of that first principles approach of just, anything that's technically possible is possible. I think one of the things that is just a general constraint that I think goes way beyond Tesla and, all engineering and product is always balancing complexity versus like the incremental gain that you get from that additional complexity. I think typically complexity is the enemy and simpler is better most of the time. And so I think same thing with the referral program. When you're thinking about your really complex programs that maybe sound cool on paper, I think you can fool yourself into that. And there's likely a simpler approach that's better. So that was kind of the main one.
How high up does the ultimately approving the referral program go? Because it's a big thing. Like what you worked on was not insignificant. It was as I said, it's a extremely visible customer facing thing that was going to move the needle for the company in the sense of the prizes you're giving away and the sales you're trying to drive. So like, does it go all the way up to Elon, or like how high up does it go?
Yes. I think for the referral program, definitely it's a very customer facing program. And so anytime something is launched, Elon has eyes on it. And I think that was one of the things that was I liked so much about Tesla was I really don't know how he does it. Like working across all of these different companies and still being in every important conversation. It's a magical skill that I don't think many people can replicate. So yeah, but definitely for the different programs, I think the referral program I think he thinks of it pretty fondly, especially because his history with launching the referral program in the PayPal days too, which were probably some of the first, like one of, if not the first, successful referral program to get people onto the platform.
So thinking back, free supercharging, which actually you already mentioned, free supercharging was one of the referral bonuses for a while. I'm purely curious. Maybe this is something you can't say. This is too far in the weeds, but are you able to share how the value of that is calculated within the company? Like, so let's say a year of free supercharging, which you mentioned was one of those levers that you could pull in the referral program. Like, is that assigned a dollar? You don't have to tell me what the value is, but like, is that assigned a dollar value, or like how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, so everything has a financial impact, and everything that has a financial impact is being tracked closely, as it should be. So yeah, it does. I can't get into how it was calculated or
Sure.
stuff like that, but it definitely did. And I think the other thing just with supercharging is, the team at Tesla has spent a ridiculous amount of time and effort to successfully make supercharging as seamless as possible, and making sure that there's not congestion and stuff like that. So I think that's another big consideration. There's obviously a cost to everything that we did, but also kind of an intangible cost of if we pull certain levers, like what does this do to supercharging congestion,
Right.
or that's a loser if everybody's super pumped about a year of free supercharging, but then we do it in a way that it clogs up all the superchargers and people have to wait or stuff like that. So yeah,
that makes sense. Were there ever any program pitches, that things you wanted to implement but weren't able to for whatever reason? Either you dreamed too big or there was some other unforeseen roadblock?
So I can't speak to specifics here of things that were pitched and didn't make it out. I would just say generally, like on a personal note, even now, I really like the idea of more gamification, and having it be a really fun value add for owners, to be rewarded for being such awesome advocates for the brand. So I definitely think, with that though, you get into the complexity conversation of like, what's too much, what's, where is it, too much engineering effort for too little incremental gain. So yeah, can't speak to specifics, but definitely I think the gamification piece is something I'm passionate about. And then I was mentioning this at the beginning, kind of coming into Tesla, of this idea of how do you pair people. So the person referring you is not just, getting a quick sale and, is an influencer, but more like, how is it somebody that's actually in your circle, that can walk you through all the ins and outs of ownership. So kind of that real world in-person connection is something I think going in to Tesla, I was passionate about and exploring, and I won't speak to whether it was pitched or not, but that, obviously we never did.
The credit system that you did implement in your sort of initial wave of it, how do you, like, you're basically inventing a little fake economy. Like, you're deciding how many points each car referral is worth, and then you have all these prizes and assigning point values, credit values to those.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of arguing that goes on amongst you and your team? And are there like things that might seem like, if I were a fly on the wall without any context, it might seem ridiculous to watch you guys argue over the point value of like a t-shirt or something?
So yes and no. I mean, I think definitely when the program's like first, being put together, there's definitely discussion over values for referrals and stuff like that. I think generally, like, Ryan, we didn't have that much time. Yeah. So I think for like the smaller stuff, it actually went more smoothly. It was, us taking a look, and, we had some internal models of how we would price things, and we would price it and roll it out. So I think that was actually nice, and probably something that also benefits from, not getting into that corporate bloat. period where there's people don't have bandwidth to argue over over value. So generally, I think it went pretty smoothly. It was, what should we offer? Definitely one of the things that you probably saw in this program was everything that we offered was like available. Very few of the things were ever like, this is going to happen. And I think that was one of the big learnings coming in from phase 9 is, I think we both shared the sentiment of like, I was owed a Powerwall and I was owed, my photo in space and all of these other things. And it starts to lose its magic if it doesn't happen quickly. And so hopefully customers felt, when we did roll out this program, it was pretty much like magic. You redeemed something and it was on your, front doorstep in, 2 to 3 days instead of 2 to 3 years for some of the awards in the older program.
Or maybe 6 years and counting so far. We'll get to that. There are actually a couple that spring to mind that I want to just go ahead and get into the weeds with you on if I can for a second. And the first one that comes to mind is something, and I will admit, I complained about this on my podcast, so I don't want you to take this personally, but the factory tours. It was so cool to see factory tours return in a albeit limited fashion through this credit system, through the referral program. I really thought it was way too much. I thought it quote unquote cost way too much for that. I think you had to refer 3 people, actually move 3 cars through friends, family, coworkers, whatever. So like when you even, do you argue about that at all amongst your team, even if you're trying to move quick? And B, if that's your idea and you want to do that, we're well past COVID. Okay, we can open the factory back up for tours, but you have to outreach to somebody about that and you have to get buy-in from somebody else in the company. And there could be, particularly with a factory tour, maybe there are security concerns. Like can you kind of speak to that, like maybe as a specific example of something that is a cool idea and how it actually goes from that idea on your whiteboard in the conference room with your team to actually getting implemented with a particular point value attached to it?
Yeah. So, I think generally you can think about the point values as the more exclusive it was, the more value we wanted to attach to it. Things like factory tours are things that are just by nature limited. We have to find some way to make it harder to get. So whether that's by lottery or by, increasing the credit value, there wasn't enough bandwidth to give it to everybody. So I think that's kind of on the first piece. The second piece is, again, one of the things that I loved about Tesla was how little red tape there was. It was like, hey, this would be cool. And, you get buy-in from a few people and you just keep cruising. And so I think the factory tours in particular were something that I've had, the opportunity to do and they were super cool. And I think, now that the company has so many customers, it's not as realistic to just offer it to all customers. And so offering it to people through the referral program seemed like a great way to, again, reward people who are already spreading, talking to their friends and family about Tesla, and that it's the best car in safety and, fun and performance, all those things, but then also giving them a chance to experience the factory tour. If we could, I would love for it to be something that everybody could do and, that had a really approachable credit value. So I think, it just starts with an idea. You get some buy-in and then you make it happen. So in that case, like the team that runs factory tours obviously was a huge part of that and did a great job of all the coordination pieces of once somebody redeemed, making sure that they were invited and had a great time at the factory tour.
Yeah, I know it would be outside of your jurisdiction, even if you were still there, but I just think it's because you've been on the tour, I've been on the tour back in the day. It's so inspirational to start the tour and you see the giant roll of aluminum at one end of the tour and then S's and X's. This was back in the day before 3 and Y. And you see cars come out the other end. I think people who aren't owners would be inspired to buy the cars. I could go on about that one. I just wish there were some sort of like a monthly lottery system, like raffle system. Maybe you make it like you enter it for some dollar amount, but then it's all a charitable thing. I don't know. But anyway, that one's one that always got me wound up when I when I saw it pop up in your referral program. So it's cool to get your insight on that.
Yeah.
And the other, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I was just gonna say, yeah, I think you could bring people once you redeemed for it. So that seemed like a referral hack too, of like you got referrals redeemed for it, and then you brought, either family or some friends that were on the fence, and showed them the factory tour. I think we saw a lot of people that did that. And I would just encourage, you're right, as not being at Tesla anymore, I don't have any pull on that, but keep posting on X. I think, you've, I'm sure, seen it, and maybe this is obvious, but it's really motivating, and a lot of ideas get action from people just posting. So I think that's one of the unique things that Tesla has, is the community of people always giving feedback. So if you or anybody else has feedback like that, like, post it on X and engage with the community. And I can assure you there's always people kind of looking at that and seeing what the community is saying. So you never know, maybe that'll happen.
That's awesome. The other specific one I wanted to just ask you about real quick is the decorative cyber hammer with the Franz signature inscription. So that one, I'm just curious of the chicken and egg there. Is that a thing where Franz and the design team bring that to you and say, oh, we were just thinking of doing this thing, and then you go, oh, it would be cool to have that as a referral prize? Or is it the other way around, and you pitch design team on some cool exclusive thing that could be part of the referral program? I don't know if, hopefully that's not too far on the weeds for you to speak to, because I'm just sort of curious as to how something unique like that comes to be part of the referral program.
Yeah, so Tesla Shop was one of the things that I managed at Tesla, and so I was very close with that team in the studio and running all of the merchandising. They're amazing over there, and so it was kind of from day one when I came in. I said this, like, my general thought, even before I was employed at Tesla, was, how do we give away things that money can't buy? Like, especially in S and X days, maybe a little less now, but like, money is nice. But, getting something that you only have because, you have convinced somebody to buy a car or energy product is really compelling, at least for me. I would assume for other people. And so I think it was just always a really close collaboration, saying, if there's anything that we can create custom for the program, that would be awesome. And in the case of Hammer, I think it came back from the studio team of like, what if we did a cyber hammer? And so, yeah, that was a really fun one to launch and have be exclusively for referral, the referral program. And I think, we saw that excitement, and we're glad that people were able to go refer their friends and then get something that's, I have one sitting in my house, and, we'll have it for many years. And, so I think it's just super fun to have something that's a little piece of history that's reserved for, the most loyal folks who are going out and convincing their friends and family to buy cars.
Now, they were all individually numbered. Did you pluck number one for yourself? Be honest here. Be honest, Taylor. Come on now.
What number do I have? So I did not pluck one in particular. I think I was the initial redemption to make sure everything went smoothly.
Yeah.
What number do I have? I think I have 2 or 3, maybe. I don't think I have 1. Yeah. So
Franz probably has number 1. I would suspect there's a good chance, high probability there. Were there, because you came in, and I'm sure you immediately studied the previous iterations of the referral program. You've mentioned the infamous Phase 9 a number of times. Like, were there any iterations of the past programs or your own in your time at the company that had unexpected results, sort of and I'll just leave that as a vague, open-ended question.
Yeah, can't speak to specifics on program results. that we saw. But definitely, I think there were always unexpected things. And I think the thing with any referral program is there's always going to be really creative use of the program. People that did things that we were like, man, maybe we should hire these people. They're, they did what? Like, that's super creative. And then there were also, things that were like, wow, there's a bunch of people buying AdWords now. I know, that hit social a little while ago. Like, that's not great. Like, that's not our intention. Phase 9, before I joined the company, had this clause on, we extend the program in good faith and expect good faith from you in return. And I think, when I joined, we had to be a little bit more specific about what does that mean? And, there are things that are just off limits. It's not fair to the rest of the community.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think there were always surprises with how things worked and, which things had the best results, which things didn't have the best results. And yeah, it was always fun to never a dull moment.
You mentioned sort of like unforeseen circumstances or unforeseen results. I am curious, again, I know it was before you got there, but the Roadster, it was the way it was set up for people that might be newer. It was, if you got 5 referrals, you would then unlock the secret level, which had some milestones along the way, culminating in, if you got 50 referrals, each referral was worth a 2% discount on the future next generation Tesla Roadster. So again, I know you can't heavily get into this, but I was always surprised that you could win 2, that it wasn't just capped at 1. Like when you went back and kind of studied it and inevitably talked to people, did the team just not think anybody would ever get enough referrals for more than 1? Can you speak to that at all?
So I think the story here, again, yeah, before my time, but I think it was actually a question. I think it was somebody hit 1.
It was Ben Sullins was the first one. My friend Ben, down in San Diego, does a lot of great content in the Tesla space. Yeah, he was the first to get there.
So I don't know if it was him or somebody else, but I think the story that I heard was somebody reached out and said, hey, I hit 1. Can I go for 2? And same sort of thing. Like, I think, everybody was so busy and was probably like, is any concerns with going for 2? And, probably a few conversations and sure. So I think,
I love that.
I think little things like that probably happen very, very quickly. Also, I mean, in the context of where the company was during that time, it was a very busy time. And, you had in 2018, 2019, a pretty hard time for Tesla
the ramp
too.
on Model 3. Yeah.
So I would imagine it was, probably one of those conversations. Again, no direct knowledge here, but I would imagine it was one of those conversations that was like, can somebody, get 2 Roadsters? And they're like, if they sell another 55 cars, sure. Versus, some sort of model or trying to predict it. So, yeah.
Well, no other company would have done that. Hearing that, I love it, because just that somebody, it just came up and it was considered and it was like, sure, why not? So I love that. Thank you for sharing that anecdote. Now, to the best of my knowledge, since people's photographs did get launched into space aboard a Falcon Heavy a few years ago, I had some pictures on that. There are only 2 referral awards, and these are not your fault. They're not under your watch. There are only 2 that I'm aware of that have never been delivered. And one is the aforementioned Roadster, which again, I know you can't really get into any detail on. But the other one was another secret level one from that phase 9, and it was racing the Tesla Semi. Did the lawyers just get eyes on that and go, wait, no, we can't let people floor it in our giant $200,000+ Class 8 semi truck? Like, can you speak to that one at all?
So I can't speak to specific conversations, but I can say I would imagine at some point it will still happen. I think generally everything that Tesla has put forward is in good faith. Obviously, not being there now, don't have any can't give any specific insights, but
Yeah.
I would just say any award that, we've promised, we try to be, keep our word and fulfill. And I hope that the photo in space showed that a little bit. That was another fun project, that I got to be a part of, and run, while at Tesla. So, I would imagine, again, this is no inside knowledge, just kind of my gut would be, maybe once production is, it's more into mass production, you might see that one. But yeah, that seems super cool too. I mean, personally, would love to drive a semi around a track. Maybe one day you and I will be on a track racing semis.
I mean, I don't know if it would be at the Fremont test track, because they had said it was going to be like a time trial thing. There wouldn't be like 20 semis on one track where you could hit each other, but it was going to be a time trial thing, and whoever got the best time was going to get some sort of extra prize, I think. And now don't quote me on that, but yeah, that would be really cool if that still happened one day. That would be a memorable day for sure. You know what you mentioned, I'll stay on this for a second, because the photos launched into space thing, that like you said, that you've got to coordinate with people you don't even work with at SpaceX on that. I mean, I know it's kind of all under the Muskverse umbrella, but it's still not the same company. And so how does that work? Is it like you get an email from somebody at SpaceX that says, we have this much physical space allocated in the Falcon Heavy, and you do with it what you will? Or like, how does that work? Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah. So we worked really closely with SpaceX. They're awesome over there. I mean, yeah, I think all of Elon's companies, just the talent that they attract is so fun to be a part of, and work with those sorts of people. I think they thought we were a little bit crazy, because they were like, what was promised and why was it promised? And, we're launching rockets. It's not, we're not giving away, mobile connectors or something. This is really intense stuff. So, definitely we worked closely with them to come up with the specs. A really, really fun project. They were great, and glad we were able to launch that and, still fulfill that prize. So there were only a few missions that kind of fit the criteria. So it definitely kind of got filtered down to a few of those, and then, got permission from all of the different stakeholders who were involved in that mission. And, and then launched it. That was a really fun one. Very hot and sticky down in, Cape Canaveral, when we launched it. But I think, everybody at Tesla was kind of, it felt really good to get that one off the, into the done column. And I think also, you were
going to say off the ground, weren't you? And then you caught yourself before you made the pun. That's okay.
You caught me. So I think, as somebody who was also owed that award, it was super fulfilling to be able to get it done. And there were definitely people that emailed every week, like, hey, when's my photo going into space?
Yeah.
And so I love that about the Tesla community. Like they don't forget anything. And nor do we want them to. It was super cool to be able to do that. And everybody was like, oh crap, Tesla did that. And that was an outstanding award. And now it's, checked off and completed. So super cool.
You talk about things that money can't buy. That's pretty high up on the list, is sending a digital archive of your whatever memories you wanted to share with whatever beings might one day find it in the depths of space. That's pretty cool. Like your photographs and mine are floating in space somewhere right now.
There you go. Yeah. Very, very exciting. Maybe some species will find it one day. That'd be cool.
Hope so. I hope so. I do have one Roadster referral question that I think you can answer. And that is, were you responsible in your time there for getting the Roadster awards physically placed onto the winners' accounts? Because if you are, I would like to personally say thank you, because it's actually the only tangible proof that any of the winners have that we're owed these cars and that they're real and that they might one day actually manifest themselves into our garages.
Yes, I was. And it was another kind of selfish one, Ryan, where it was like, I also I didn't get a free Roadster. I didn't get that many referrals, but I did get enough to get a discount.
Yeah.
And so I think I have like a 15 or 20% discount off of Roadster. And so it was another one of like, this was so long ago, people keep asking about it, what percentage and stuff like that. And so, that was one that we were like, let's put them in people's accounts. Even though we don't have more details to share right now about Roadster, like let's at least give them something to see one of those legacy awards. So you're welcome. I hope it was helpful to the community. And
it sure beats just saving screenshots and hoping one day that Tesla would believe us when we show those. So yes, sincere thank you on that. And every now and again, I log into my account and stare at them and go, someday, I hope. All right, I've got a few. I've already kept you for almost an hour here. I'm having a ball talking to you about the referral program specifically because it's been such a fun thing in my time in the Tesla community, and I just love that you came into it with, as an owner, as an enthusiast, as a user of the referral program yourself. I have to ask. I mean, I kind of hinted at this a little earlier, but did you have any? I mean, the word run-ins probably has a negative connotation, but did you have any direct interactions with Elon at any point, either over something you were up to or something that he came to you and was curious about with the referral program? I'm always just curious because I know he can show up anywhere, anytime for any reason to check on things or ask questions or what have you.
Yeah. So like I was mentioning earlier, all the referral program stuff is pretty aligned at the top level. So definitely interacted with him on several of the last versions of the program. And then those were the main interactions. I think there were a few others I was a part of that definitely had a little bit more activity. One being like Dogecoin was another fun one that I did. Accepting Dogecoin on Tesla Shop was a fun project. We did that one over the holidays. I think, most companies, it was in that period where most companies give their employees off in between like Christmas and New Year's. But we were hard at work, trying to be the first to accept Dogecoin. Like every item that we offered was priced in Dogecoin. Sorry to maybe go on a tangent on this, but it was crazy to me. Like it was just the first for us of, no other company was pricing physical goods in a cryptocurrency. Like lots of them had calculators that would calculate in a fiat currency and then convert into a crypto. But we literally it was priced at 500 Doge. And that's, you paid 500 Doge and that was the same price, in the US, in Europe, all over the place. So that was another really fun one.
So the current version of the referral program that's running right now has really good benefits for both the referrer and referee. It's straight cash discount on a car, $500 of credit for the referrer, and it's capped. So it seems like there's a lot of thought put into it of not having, quite frankly, people like me that have a podcast or a YouTube channel be able to just accrue insane amounts of money and referrals. So did you have a hand in that one at all prior to your departure at Tesla? And if so, I'll follow up, but I'll just tee that up for you.
No, that one, we had always talked about that. But no, that was all the team that's currently still there.
It's interesting though, that you did mention that your goal was to offer things that money couldn't buy. And now it's just interesting that whoever's running it now, there's a different philosophy, and there are strengths and weaknesses to both, and they're both exciting and fun in their own ways. So that's pretty cool. It's interesting to see the program ebb and flow and evolve over time. I'm glad it's still going. I mean, that's got to make you happy, right? Even if you didn't have a hand in what's going on now prior to your departure,
Yeah.
It probably makes you happy to see that the referral program is still going.
Yeah. Big fan. And I think kind of the backdrop for just the macro environment that we're in is that, there's an affordability crisis. And obviously interest rates have started to come down. But I think, the pro of cash, and we did this for a little bit. Or I think this was towards the end of my time there. The referral program did give cash discount to the buyer. But I think the pro of that is just it makes the car a little bit more approachable and more affordable. So I think to your point, there's pros and cons for both. And I'm sure this will not be the last iteration that we see of the program. The team's super good at feedback from the community. So again, I think more people should do that for any product. Just post at the company or people that work at the company of what you want to see or your pain points. And I think that's super helpful for the people on the ground building.
So last question before I let you go. I know you departed Tesla earlier this year. So what are you up to now? And how did your, 5 years at Tesla, my understanding, again, from the outside, is that that's actually a pretty long time because it's pretty tough. Everybody I ever talked to says it's pretty tough working at Tesla. It's not an easy gig. And so what are you up to now? And how did your experience at Tesla, how has that sort of helped you grow as a person and as a professional?
Yeah. So, I left Tesla and I've joined a company called Armada, based here in San Francisco, doing really cool things, passionate about the mission there, too. So I think what Tesla ingrained in me is like, I have to work for a company that I'm aligned with the mission. I think personally doing work where that isn't the case, is kind of a no-go for me now, just because I've seen the results of like working with people who all believe, in a similar mission and are willing to, put blood, sweat, and tears into getting there. So at our Armada, the mission is to bridge the digital divide. And so we have a partnership with Starlink, and a full stack computing platform so that we can bring all the advances in AI to every corner of the globe. And so this means like traditional industries, like oil and gas, mining, manufacturing, like nonprofits, like schools in Africa and all over the place that need access to compute. Previously, without the Starlink piece and the connectivity, it wasn't possible. And now we have this solution that allows you to manage all of your Starlink terminals, while also having like physical GPU compute on the ground at the edge, so that you can do all of these really intensive either training or inference. And so it makes it so that it's not just the hubs like San Francisco that can take advantage of all the advances that we're seeing in AI. It's all of these legacy industries too can now do things like make sure that everybody's wearing PPE and that their employees are safe, and cutting down on fatalities due to crossing into a danger zone within a mine, or all of these other applications that take real-time sensor data and a ton of compute to try to understand what's happening, and how do we be proactive instead of reactive. And so that was the mission at Armada, and got connected to the founder over there, this guy Dan Wright, and it felt like it was a good next step for my career. It was also at the time when the referral program was again shutting down, and I had a bunch of other product lines at Tesla, but felt like I had that 5-year run, and felt like it was time to move on. And the other piece that you were just at the Robotaxi event, I think Tesla is changing, and I think it's for the better. I'm a huge fan, and will continue to be. I think the bet is on autonomy and humanoid robots, and I think the company is going to change a lot, and I think personnel will probably continue to change as well as they march towards that vision, of fully autonomous transport and more humanoids than humans. So all of those things kind of contributed, and super excited to be at Armada now with another really talented team working on some of the hardest problems.
Taylor, where can my listeners find you on X if they'd like to reach out, say hi, tell you that they enjoyed the interview, which I hope they did, because I've sure as heck had an awesome time chatting.
Yeah, it's been great. I'm at TW Robinette on X, pretty active there. So yeah, feel free to drop a line, say hi. And yeah, we'd love to connect. Still in the Tesla community, still an owner, and still love meeting up with other people in the community. So if anybody ever is in the area and wants to meet up, drop me a line and would be happy to connect.
Taylor Robinette, the longtime senior staff product engineer at Tesla, heading up the referral program during that time. Taylor, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ryan. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you to Taylor for making the time to do that. Again, I hope all of you enjoyed that chat as much as I did. The Ride the Lightning hotline will return next week, I promise, but if you'd like to call in and possibly be featured on the podcast, any of your Tesla questions, comments, or discussion topics can be sent my way via the Ride the Lightning hotline, and there are two easy ways to call in on that. Either use your smartphone's built-in voice recording software, record your question. Please try to keep it to 90 seconds or less so that I can get to as many people each week as possible, and then email that file to me at teslapodcast@gmail.com. Or you can take that same 90-second or less question and call in and leave a message anytime, day or night, on the Ride the Lightning hotline. There's a toll-free number to call, and that number is 1-888-989-8752. That number again, 1-888-989-TSLA. And if you know someone special with an upcoming birthday, anniversary, graduation, or some other special occasion, you can give them a unique gift of recorded voices from friends and family telling them why they're special. The recordings can be podcasted, like I do with them, or put onto a keepsake. Visit lifeonrecord.com to learn more. All right, as for what's going on with me and my car, well, as I announced on the Patreon Lightning Round, the bonus mini episode last week, and also on the regular show last week after that, I have made my vehicle decision. I have ordered the new Model 3 Performance, and this week I put together a list of all the accessories that I want/need. Some of them are wants, some of them are needs, and my goodness, there's actually a lot of them, or at least the total dollar amount is a lot. I have $1,580 worth of accessories that I want and or need here. They are the home link, which is the one that really annoys me because my Model 3 in 2018 came with it. And now they don't do it. They don't include it in the 3s or the Ys anymore. You have to order it separately. Although what makes it even more aggravating is that it's been sold out frequently on the Tesla shop online, as I've been checking in these last days and couple weeks as I've been just kind of figuring out what I'm doing here. So I hope it comes back into stock soon. Total first world problem, I realize, but I need that automatic garage door opener baked into my car. I don't want to have a garage door fob in my new car. So that's $350 that they're charging for that. It used to be $300. I remember that. So that's gone up a bit. $350 for that. $145 for another one of the pet liners, which yes, I already have one, but we're going to want one in both cars. $225 for the all-weather interior floor mats. $125 for the all-weather rear trunk liner, which I have in my old Model 3, and it's come in handy because there's like milk spilled back there after a grocery store run at some point, and thank goodness that didn't get into carpet. Instead, it just was on the rubber all-weather mat that I was able to wipe up. Center console tray, that also came with my car. They don't apparently include the in the cars anymore. $35 there. Trunk storage bins for the two side trunk compartments that are in the new car, where my car really only has kind of half a one over there. This is definitely, that one's not required, but if I want to get it, that's $50. And then I want to get either, I don't really want to get just a regular USB stick for my Sentry. Even though the car is going to come with it, I want to get something a little more bulletproof. So Tesla's SSD drive is $350. I know. Before you write in that I can shop around for something cheaper there, so I might do that. And then the last one that's kind of a need, at least to keep me sane, is a car cover. Not for the new Model 3, but for the old one that is literally getting kicked to the curb. That car is going to live outside now once the new one arrives. So I want a car cover on it to shield it from all the just dust, dirt, rain, just keep it a lot cleaner than it would otherwise be. So that's $300 as well, totaling almost $1,600 worth of accessories. My goodness. Anyway, first world problem, excited. If I had gone with Cybertruck, there were going to be a bunch of accessories for that too. Although not the HomeLink, because I couldn't put that thing in the garage. So that would have been $350 I could have saved that way. But anyway, so that's what I've been thinking about. And then the other thing I've been thinking about is, what am I going to name my new Model 3 Performance? I don't want to get too lazy and just call it the Spirit of Adventure 2.0, but I could go the new Spirit of Adventure. I could totally mix it up. I've actually been having trouble racking my brain just trying to find a cool new name for the new Model 3 Performance. So I don't know. I'll come up with something, but that's been those are the things that have been going on with me and my car. Here's an entertainment recommendation for you before I get to the pro tip of the week. And the show I'd like to recommend, it's a 3-part documentary, actually. It's on Netflix, and it's called The Comeback. This is for you baseball fans, my fellow baseball fans out there. It is a 3-part documentary about the 2004 Boston Red Sox and their historic comeback from being down 3-0 in the American League Championship Series against the hated rival New York Yankees. And then they won 4 in a row. They did what no other team in baseball history had done before or since, for that matter, in the 20 years since then. It has not been done again. It was a good documentary. I really enjoyed it. So baseball fans, check that one out. Time for your Tesla Pro Tip of the Week. It comes from a longtime friend of the podcast, longtime listener, occasional caller, Jerome from Northern California.
Good morning, Ryan. I have $1 million pro tip. Here it goes. You back into the supercharger. You've got OCD. You forgot to straighten out your steering wheel, so now the spoke is blocking your instrument panel for us S and X owners. And so you can't turn the steering wheel because minutes have gone by, and what do? Well, of course, you invoke Arcade, you invoke Beach Buggy Racing 2, and then you can fix your steering wheel so you can see how quickly you're charging. I know. It's brilliant.
I love this one, Jerome. Thank you so much. This, I have to say, speaks to my own OCD tendencies. So thank you for this, and thanks as always for your calls. And if anybody else out there has a good Tesla Pro Tip of the Week about anything related to your car that you'd like to share with me and your fellow Tesla owners and enthusiasts, I welcome and encourage you to do it. Just send it in just like you would a regular Ride the Lightning hotline call. The instructions for that I gave you just a few minutes ago. Before I get out of here, though, for this week, I do want to mention some friends of Ride the Lightning that can hopefully be of use to you at some point in time. Maybe it's now, maybe it's a little down the road. I'll start with abstractocean.com. They've got so many great aftermarket Tesla accessories. In fact, I'm going to do one of my occasional check-ins. I'm just going to go to their website right now to see, okay, so right on the homepage is best sellers. So there are premium Model 3 mud flaps for the new Model 3, the super hydrophobic camera cover for the Model 3 and the Model Y. So if you're in a climate where you tend to get a lot of water or kind of mud, dirt, just kind of flinging up and covering your rear camera, well, this super hydrophobic cover for $17.50 can help get the job done to protect that, keep that from happening. Rim trims, these go around the outside of your tire to help absorb curb rash, so should that unthinkable thing happen. That way, the rim trim is what's trashed rather than your wheel. Those are $60 in 3 different colors. There's ultra premium, the tempered glass screen protectors that I mention all the time. Those are $50. A full color animated dash LED light strip for the older, the classic 3 and the still current Model Y. Those are $100. And it goes on and on and on. They've got so many great things. That's literally row 1 of, oh my gosh, there's a lot of rows just on the bestseller list. So check them out, abstractocean.com. Pile everything that you like into your online shopping cart, and when you get to checkout, use the coupon code RTL Podcast to get 15% off of your first order. That's RTL Podcast, all one word, no spaces, at abstractocean.com. Meanwhile, get your Snap Plate or the newer, stronger Snap Plate Plus at everyamp.com/RTL. Don't forget the coupon code RTL also for a discount there. This is the front license plate bracket that I recommend if you want or legally need to have a front plate on your Tesla. The Snap Plate is a nice, really minimalist design. It's nothing bulky. It's going to have the plate practically just floating in front of your car as much as physics allow on that. It's a really great product that I do think is awesome. The Snap Plate Plus, if you're curious, is stronger. It's strength optimized with hardened features for maximum strength. Both are made from recycled, made in the USA plastics with stainless steel reinforcements. So again, get yours at everyamp.com/RTL. When you choose whichever one you want and put it in your shopping cart, you get to check out. Don't forget to put in the coupon code RTL as well, and there'll be a nice discount. If you're in or going to be in the greater San Francisco Bay Area with your Tesla or another car in your life that you love, I highly encourage you to make an appointment at Immaculate Reflections. Awesome detailer. They're going to turn your car into the nicest version of your car that you've ever seen. And I'm not exaggerating at all. It will be nicer than new. And the reason that I say that is because I've lived it. My car speaks to this. Because all of our cars, and this is not just a Tesla thing, all cars come from the factory with flaws in the paint. That's how it is. Some of them get corrected at the factory, but not all of them. So paint correction specifically, which I've had done on my car by Immaculate Reflections, goes over the whole car. There's like this, it's like a buffering with a wet sanding. There's all sorts of awesome magic that goes into it. And it just gets your paint finish as smooth, consistent, and beautiful as it possibly can be. If you're ever in the San Francisco area and you reach out to me and we get together, because I've had lunch with lots of listeners or gotten a drink. I love meeting you folks, and you see my car, you will see what I'm talking about. And it is the incredible talent of Immaculate Reflections that allows my 2018 Model 3 to look as good as the 2025 Model 3 Performance that I'm going to be taking delivery of in terms of the paint finish. So paint correction isn't all they offer. There's also ceramic coating, because that's the 21st century version of wax, where it lasts 5+ years. I have that on my car as well. And then you can get paint protection film to protect that paint after you have it paint corrected. So whatever you want to do, Immaculate Reflections will work with you, work with your budget. Go to irdetailing.com, and there's a contact form through there. You can reach out. When you do, mention that you're a Ride the Lightning listener, and any service that you do have done, you'll get the Ride the Lightning listener discount extended to you. I mentioned the Patreon right near the top. I'll just mention it one more time here. My Patreon page can be found at patreon.com/Tesla podcast. This is the way that you can voluntarily choose to support what I'm doing here, if you like. There's no, the regular podcast comes at you for free, same time, same day, every week. Sundays, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. But the Patreon, if you want to support what I'm up to, I'd be super grateful if you'd consider that, because I do this in my spare time. And I love doing it, don't get me wrong, but it would very much help me and my family if you would consider a pledge. The pledge tiers start at just $5 a month. And again, as I said near the top of the show, $5 a month, you get early access to it each week, and you get an ad-free version of the episode every week. And if you step up to that $10 per month tier, you get both of those things, and you get those 120 plus weekly lightning round bonus mini episodes that I do exclusively on Patreon. If you keep going, I mean, there's the maximum plaid tier, which will get you all of that, plus your shout out at the end of each episode, and an invitation to each month's group Zoom hangout where we have an awesome time. In fact, the next one is coming up next weekend. It'll be next Saturday, December 7th. And I'll be sending out, if I haven't already by the time you hear this, I will be sending out invites to that very, very, very shortly. So appreciate everybody's either support on Patreon if you're already supporting, or your consideration if maybe it's something that you'll think about here, maybe today, maybe next week, maybe soon. But anyway, thank you for listening to that. Make sure you're following the podcast on any of your favorite podcast services. Statistically, that's Apple Podcasts for most of you. And of course, Apple Podcasts has a native app in your Tesla. So just search Ride the Lightning Tesla in Apple Podcasts, and you should find this podcast easily. Click the follow button, and that way you'll be notified anytime there's a new episode, which, as I told you, is the same day, same time every week. But it'll just be pushed out to you automatically. You won't have to think about it or wonder, wait, when is the new episode out again? It'll just let you know. Let's see here. I guess I will mention my email address one more time if you want to reach out for any Tesla-related reason. It's teslapodcast@gmail.com. My social media handles, I'm on X and I'm on Instagram. Those are the two that I am at. And you can find me with the same username on both. That username is DMC_Ryan. The last thing on my to-do list before I go for this week is to say a big hello and thank you to the top tier Patreon backers. Huge thanks goes out to all these folks for their very, very generous support. I'll start with the Roadster in Space tier backers this week, the very tip-top tier group here. Thank you so much to Pete White, Lyle Austin, Steve Radspinner, Fernando Cordero, Lawton from Chicago, Sean Neidig, Neil Weaver, Jackson Wallace, Rolf and Jennifer Evers, Howard Anthony Smith, Victoria Iacovetto, Tesla Hitchhiker 42, Carol Weston, Robert from near Philly, American Home Contractors, GetAmber.com, Doug Carey, Rav, and Michael Gallo. Next up, a big thanks to the Maximum Plaid backers. Hello to Jonathan Wales, Cameron Clark, Daniel Grummer, Seth Capello, Nick and Tony, the Galpin family, Ryan from New York City, Darren Nickel, Kaz Barnes, Brett Libano, Patrick Wisniewski, Gil Cabrera, Todd Badger, Joe Edgel, Kevin Yank, the Tesla Owners Club of San Joaquin Valley, Will Stedman, Justin Perez, Jeremy Harris, Chris Beach, Tom Mills, Corey O'Donnell, Aaron, John Cody, Joel Sapp, Paul Casarino, Richard Corley, Chris Osborne, KB, Adam Lavoie, Jason Chalukas, Travis Krenzel, Bruce Otterstein, Tom Behan, Josh Pennington, John from Cream Ridge, New Jersey, Dustin Hart, Derek Finley, Charles Clement, Adam Christie, Damon Klein, Jeff Brown, Jerry Slinger, and Clayton Goodfellow. And finally, an extra thank you to the Plaid level supporters. These folks are grandfathered in. The Plaid level is no more, but these folks are kindly continuing to support the podcast at that tier, so they'll continue to get all the perks and rewards that they should be getting at the old Plaid tier. Hello and thank you to George Cassiopo, Logan Willis, Peter Chalet, Eric Randolph, Dory and Steve Guberman, the Tesla Owners Club of Taiwan, Ron Lee, Charlie Gillespie, Jeff Angwin, Chase Cabanillas, the Lydia family, Aaron Altschul, Jared Brown, Jerome Strack, Jamie Dalton, Mike and Barbara from Louisville, Matt Nixon, the Tesla Owners Club of Wisconsin, Ish, not Elon Musk, Peter, and the Bear Boys of Colorado. Thank you to everybody who took the time to listen this week. It's a holiday weekend as this episode releases, at least in the United States. So I hope all of you have had a great holiday weekend, hopefully with friends, family, maybe both. But holiday season's officially here. Stretch run of 2024 is officially here. We're into the final month. It'll be interesting to see how Tesla's numbers are in 1 month from now when we get the production and delivery report for Q4, which we'll get right after the new year. So it's going to be an exciting sprint to the finish line for Tesla here. And I haven't been able to say this for 6.5 years. I am going to be one of the customers taking delivery in this quarter. So that's super exciting for me. Can't wait. I guess I can wait in the sense of I just want a good build. That's really, just please, I want a really good build. No fit and finish issues, no paint issues. Just hopefully no squeaks or rattles, because those drive me insane. Hopefully I get a good, clean build. That's what I want for Christmas from Tesla in exchange for my money is a good, clean build. So we'll see what happens there. Obviously, I'll tell you all about it when the time comes. But for now, that'll wrap it up for Ride the Lightning episode 487, this special vacation edition as I had disappeared for this week. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And like I said, if not, it'll be back to the usual format for episode 488 next week. Happy electric motoring, and I'll see you then.
Elon Musk, people don't like Elon Musk. The guy founded PayPal and Tesla, and people are like, yeah, but he's a troll and a bad dad. I'm like, so was mine. He did nothing to fight climate change. Also, have you been in a Tesla? Have you been in a Tesla? My buddy let me drive his Tesla. I laughed out loud at how fast it went. Been clinically depressed my entire life, on dozens of medications, in a Tesla for 13 seconds, cured forever.
I mean, I think a Tesla is the most fun thing you could possibly buy ever. That's what it's meant to be. Our goal is to make it's not exactly a car. It's actually a thing to maximize enjoyment. It's maximum fun.